Good Sunday morning to you, everyone. Welcome to the Biophilic Alternative. My name is Magiabella, and I am your Sunday host. Today I want to talk a little bit about a healing that I had a week and a half ago with a, well, she's actually a world-renowned healer, but I met her here in my hometown of Corpus Christi, Texas, and I've known her for almost 10 years now, and I feel very privileged that I was able to encounter her and was open enough to do the first healing with her many years ago. And her name is Star Johnsen Moser, and she is a vibrational healer. She is from the United States, but she now lives in Mexico. She's been living in Izamal, Mexico for quite some time now. She is one of the caretakers of 2 crystal skulls. The healing that she does is with these 2 crystal skulls. One is a very large citrine crystal skull. Let me look at the name so that I can pronounce it right. Zamuku. And then she also has another crystal skull that is Amakua, I believe is how you pronounce it. She has worked extensively also with Max, the crystal skull that is known as the Texas crystal skull. Of course, it did not come from Texas. It came from Guatemala, I believe, or at least that's where they believe the origins were from. It was with her working with Joanne Parks, another well-known healer, that she became more in depth with that kind of healing. But Star has been on a healing path for probably over 40 years, I believe, is what her path has been. But Star, trying to describe a healing from Star is hard to describe, even a Reiki session. Not because you don't know what's going on, but because every individual will experience it differently, since this is healing on an auric field level. This is working on the etheric bodies and the chakra alignments and things like this, and it depends on what the person is first needing in healing. Second, how open they are to the experience. And third, how sensitive or unsensitive they are to the energies and what they actually feel. I am fortunate that maybe I'll just start with my path and how I found Star and agreed to the first healing. I didn't agree to it. She didn't ask to heal me. But the people of the shop were telling me about Star, and because I was inquiring about her. I was in need of healing, and so I was on a path of finding that for myself. if you know anything about my previous videos and stuff, I do talk about the psychic abilities that I had from the time I was a child and stuff like that. But I'm also an empath, and that empath part of me was probably where I needed the most healing from, because when I went and found this shop, Angel Light, years ago, and unfortunately Angel Light doesn't exist anymore, although I am still involved with a lot of the people from Angel Light. It kind of got bought and sold several times and kind of disbanded. But I went there to take yoga first, is where so I started my path with a yoga class. And yoga led me to be in this metaphysical shop and start to really get to know one-on-one a lot of the Reiki masters that worked out of that shop. I would always ask them what was Reiki, what did it do? And the answers were rather vague, because it's an energy healing, and energy healings are different than a medical healing. It works on the emotional planes, it works on the spiritual planes, it can work on the physical planes, but it's working so much in your auric field that it becomes a different kind of experience than most people know. It is very distressing, and really the distressing issue was all I really needed to know to give it a shot, because I was under tremendous stress at that time. At that time, within a year's time, I'd almost lost 2 of my daughters. Two extremely traumatic events that, because it involves somebody else, I'm not going to talk of it on camera. My marriage was ending, however, I couldn't even focus on my marriage because I was focusing on saving my daughters. And being an empath, that really, being a mother alone, it was enough to put you under. But being an empath, it was even more so for me. It was sort of like the culmination of the 30 years of stress that my marriage and my life had given me. A lot of times it wasn't even anything that had to do with me. It was just me helping them through one emotional trauma or physical trauma after another that got me to the state that I was in. My husband was abusive in many ways, and so that was why I was seeking the refuge there. When I got my first Reiki treatment, that was when I knew this was for me. I not only had such a profound experience on my first Reiki healing, which is not necessarily the usual thing, but with me and the Reiki master that performed on me, and I was fortunate because she really doesn't work on people much, because she takes in too much. It takes too much out of her to work on people. She generally works on animals. She primarily is an animal healer. But her hands, she was so skilled, and it opened my eyes up to a whole new world of energy healing, and I wanted to do that. So the other Reiki master, who also happened to be my yoga teacher, was the one who attuned me. On my first attunement, and working with her one-on-one and in a Reiki healing group, I really honed my skills. I ended up becoming a Reiki master with her, going through Reiki 1, 2, and 3 with her. Which, if you can, that is a wonderful experience to have one Reiki master basically bring you along through the years. But through this time, my psychic awareness was also opened up in Reiki, and I am able to see things. I can go through the tunnels. I call them wormholes. And no, I don't know where I'm going to end up. Sometimes I end up inside someone's body, and I can see internally things inside that is opening up to me. Sometimes I'm out in a star field, and I can't tell you exactly where I go, but the best way to describe the images that I see are the pictures from space that they have that use the radiation and X-ray type photography. I see it in those colors like that. That's how my brain opens these things up. The reason I'm telling you this is because when you go into a vibrational healing with Star, it is traditionally on a you're on a massage table. But Star has the crystal skulls in the room with you, and she also has what they call stargates. And these stargates are crystal grids, and there's 4 of them, and they're placed around you as well. So besides having the big impact of skulls that, well, I know max weighs 18 pounds. So if you can imagine the energy healing coming off of crystal points and things like that, imagine the energy that is coming from a skull that is 8 to 18 pounds of this magnificent crystal materials. Her main skull, which is Zumaku, he is a citrine skull, and he's very large, but I don't know how much he weighs, but I would imagine 10 plus pounds. He's a huge skull. The other skull, Amakua, that skull is a slightly smaller skull, and it looks dirty. It's like it's either smoky quartz or reticulated quartz. So you can imagine the energy coming off of these 2 large stones if you are someone who is sensitive to the vibrations that come off of stones and crystals. And then you're in the middle of a star grid, basically, where she's got you with these stargates, one at your head, one at your foot, and one to either side of you. And then the crystal skulls are also placed there as well in the room. So you are totally encased in this magnificent grid of crystals. When I get on the table, you can start to feel the tingle from all of the energy from the crystals themselves. And that's without Star having done anything yet. But herself is a magnificent healer, even without the crystals. So, as she started the work on me, sometimes she's touching your body, sometimes she's not touching you at all. It depends on where you are. And she has only, out of all the healings that I've done with her, only laid hands on my body twice in 2 of the healings. She always starts out on the head and touching the head to get you going and to get you into the state that you need to be in and to start the healing. But as far as doing the full body of the work, only twice did her hands basically stay on me most of the time. That's actually a very positive thing. The first time, she let me know that my 3rd chakra was completely ripped and shredded. And that she said all she could do was try to patch me up because I had so much energy leakage. Now, she didn't know me at all at the time of that first healing, so she knew nothing of my past. But yes, I was ripped and shredded. She couldn't have said it better. I was unaware of this at that time. I just knew that I was in dire need of healing. And something snapped after that healing. And it catapulted me into a totally different world. And it set me on my path more than I can ever explain. I hadn't had my Reiki 1 at that time, but that catapulted me, and I got my Reiki 1 and Reiki 2, and I intensified my yoga, and I also intensified things like belly dancing and stuff like that. This was to work on my 3rd chakra. And I also worked on separating myself from my husband at the time as well. And so when I came back for a second healing with her, she didn't do anything that I expected her to do. I expected her hands on me, and her hands weren't on me. But the second that I went under with her, I was out in a star field somewhere. I was gone. I was gone immediately. And I have been told that on a Reiki table, that I go so fast, so deep, that they think that I quit breathing. Because my body just soaks it up and loves it. Every minute and every bit of it. But there is an issue that I do have. I go so far, so fast, so I am nowhere near my body. I go completely out of body, and that's why the respiration stops to such a degree, and I stay that way for the entire hour. There are times that I've even scared myself and thought, oh, I may not come back. I may not want to come back, but I may not. Am I able to get back as far as I feel I've traveled? And about that time, she will kiss you on your forehead. And the second that she kisses you on your forehead, I'm immediately back in my body. I said, well, what did you feel? You didn't touch me. She goes, sister, you've done your work. She said, you've done your work. I can't. You were out there so far that I was way out here working in your field because you've done all of your work. And she was shocked that I had put forth that kind of ability to do that to come so far from the first healing to the second. And I did work very, very hard at that. And it was not just her healing, it was the Reiki. It was becoming a Reiki 2. It was the process between Reiki 1 to Reiki 2. It was working at every Reiki healing circle with all of these masters and other people in the community that were also working with Reiki and working with energy. The crystal skulls, though, always give me a different experience than Reiki does. I can actually see the grid that she works in, and she called it a grid pattern. It has only been with her that I have seen this grid, and it is shimmering and golden. It's like golden threads, but it's like graph paper that moves in waves. And so I have seen the grid that she talks of. I've only seen it twice out of all the healings that I've had with her, but it's there, and I can't tell you what distant star fields I go into. And the legends of the skulls, I'm going to link below a lot of the different stuff. I'm going to link below to YouTube videos that show Star in an interview where she's actually giving a talk so she can tell her story, her personal story, better than I could ever relay it back to you. But also there's the legend of the 13 crystal skulls. And they liken these skulls to some of the legends have it where each skull was from a different planet or point in space. I don't know that that is true or not true. It's not for me to say. The legends have been around for centuries upon centuries in all kinds of ancient cultures. And the Mayans just happen to be one, but they talk about these skulls in multiple different cultures, way far apart from each other, thousands of years in time, you know. But the thing I think that gave that actual birthing to the legend was that when I was present, when I go into a healing like that, I get the sense that I am beyond certain stars. I have seen what I perceive as Andromeda. I have perceived going back behind the stars. I can't tell you because it is not spoken where I'm at. It is not given me the name of where I'm at. But in that, I can see how the legend would come about, because I am not that special of a person. I am not that special in my gifts. I know that other people are as sensitive as I am, or more sensitive than I am. I know that there are psychics and mediums out there that I envy their talent and their abilities. And to think about the ancient shamans and the ancient whatever you might call them in whatever culture they come from. But those medicine men, those medicine women, those shamans, those healers, those enlightened people, I would think that if they were in the presence of these enormous skulls, or these, even if they weren't in the shape of a skull, doing these crystal healings and understanding where they were going with these when they were in these trances. I could see how they would come up with the fact that these skulls or these crystals, because see, I can do it in Reiki as well as, and there's usually crystals in the room, but so I'm not sure that if it's the skull itself being a skull, or the fact that it is just the crystals themselves that hold so much power and so much ability for us to be able to let go, but also find our way back home into our bodies again as we go astral traveling. So if you ever get the opportunity, I just want to tell you that Star goes all over the world. She is she goes many places. She goes to Germany, France, all over Europe. She goes all over the United States. If you ever get the opportunity to get a vibrational healing from her, it is well worth the money. I paid $70, and she comes to the Corpus area once every 6 weeks to 3 months. She's here for a stretch of approximately 7 to 10 days. And she works round the clock. She works out of a chiropractor's office at this moment because Angel Light had closed down. But I do know that she also goes to Houston frequently. That's where Joanna Parks is as well. And knowing that Star worked with Joanna for so long, I've never been in the presence of Max. I've never been in the presence of Joanna. But that would probably be just as awesome of a healing as well, if not more so. Because Max is linked to one of the ancient skulls, so they do believe that he is one of those 13 that they spoke of. But even if he isn't, you know, there's controversy about the crystal skulls. And if you've been in the presence of any of them, and I'm not saying these are the 13 ancient ones, but if you've been in the presence of any of them, you know their special ability. And like I said, I don't know if it's just because it is a huge hunk of gorgeous crystal that is just permeating the energy in the room because it is of its vast size. That could be all it is. But if that's all it is, it's still fantastic. So I just wanted to speak a little bit on my vibrational healing with her, give her a large shout out because she is absolutely amazing and awesome. She sacrificed a lot with her family in her younger years when she went on this path. She was a trailblazer. I admire her, and if I could go down to Mexico and work with her, I certainly would, to become even a better healer than I am, because she's just fantastic. Being in her presence, just being in her presence, you know that you are in the presence of someone who is just amazing, the way her energy comes off and immediately calms and soothes the people around her. Just can't say enough about her. Star, if you watch this video, which I will link it to her Facebook as well, Star, I love you. Can't say enough about your healings. Very privileged to have encountered you in my life and on my journey, and I'm so thankful that I have had the limited time with you that I have had has been extremely precious to me and has moved me along my path exponentially. I cannot tell you how much she has done for me. But love you, Star. To all of you out there, if you ever get a chance, make an appointment with her. She is absolutely amazing. If you can go on a retreat with her, I so envy you that you can do that, because she does have where you can literally go down there, and she has all kinds of ceremonies and things that go on outside the big pyramids and stuff. It's just fantastic. So y'all have a blessed Sunday. I hope everyone out there had a wonderful Beltane weekend. Tonight is full moon. I am getting together with my friends. We're lighting up the fire pit, and we're going to have a little celebration and do a little full moon magic and send our wishes to the wind in the fire. So we're going to be using a lot of fire energy tonight, and I just hope everyone has had as wonderful a weekend as I have had, and I hope that everyone continues to be blessed. Thank you, and goodbye.